Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Gregorian, President and CEO of the Detroit Economic Club. I want to welcome you to today's exciting meeting. It's a big birthday year for the Detroit Economic Club. 90 years of incredible speakers and networking. And that tradition will continue today. I especially want to welcome our DEC members. And if you're not a member, give me 10 seconds to convince you. Your next prospect, client, job, maybe even best friend is right here in this room. If you want to build your network and hear from thought leaders like you'll hear on stage today, we invite you to invest in you and join today. You can sign up at econclub.org, or if you want to do it today, we'll sweeten the pot with a free event ticket you can use through the month of December. If that interests you, stop at the DEC registration table on your way out today. As we get started, I would just ask you to please silence the cell phones so we don't disturb the program. And if you've been with us before, you know we always get started with a pledge and a prayer. So please stand and join me as we honor our country with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And kindly remain standing as our invocation today will be delivered by Chris Zarbaugh, pastor at Heritage Church. Pastor Zarbaugh.
Thank you. Thank you. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you today asking your blessing and your favor on our discussions today. Help us to be learners, seeking to understand before seeking to be understood. We thank you for this great country we live in. We continue to pray for its future, well-being, prosperity, and economy. Lord, we pray for wisdom, that you may guide us together as each a working part together for the whole. We pray for favor, that you may bless us, not only because of ourselves, but yet in spite of ourselves as well. And finally, we pray for great leadership, that you should grant us the opportunity to be led by the right people in our industries, our political offices, and those who deal with our foreign policies. And when those things take place before us, help us not to take all the credit, but rather give you the honor and the glory. For we ask and we pray all of these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. A couple of thank yous quickly. Thanks to WJR, who's doing their focus show live with Paul W. from today's DEC meeting, and that was right outside this room. And thanks to WDIV Local 4 for live streaming today's meeting. If you've been with us before, you know having students is terribly important to the DEC, and today, they're here courtesy of our generous corporate sponsors. Their morning already included a private reception with Mr. Burritt. I want to let you know who is with us today. We've got a group from Event Tech Academy, thanks to Jamie and the good folks at CVS Health Aetna. Ben Maybach, thanks for bringing the Eastern Michigan students to us. Ben's with Barton Malow, of course. And Adam Robbins and Accenture, you brought us the amazingly brilliant and good-looking students from the Manoogian School in Southfield. So how about a round of applause for our students and sponsors? Couple quick things on your table. Our sponsor brochure, make no mistake, we would not be here if it wasn't for the generosity of those companies. Thank you if you are one of those sponsors. If you're not, we'd love to have you become a sponsor. There's some great benefits in doing so. Just see me or any of our staff after the program. Also on your table is our season lineup, and we are packed with lots of good stuff in September and October, and trust me, folks, we're working on some things. October could be crazy. Next week, right here in this room, White House Economic Advisor Lael Brainerd will be here at the DEC. That's Monday. Our annual Young Leader Conference takes place next Thursday, and October 2nd we'll be back in this room. We're going to give Senator Stabenow her exit interview. And on October 7th, Ali Velshi, he's out with a new book, and he'll do a fireside chat with our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. So tons more on our website, tons more to come. Get your tickets before they sell out. Here's the favorite part, 90 years of speakers, and those speakers tell the history of our country. David, you now join a distinguished list of 17 others who graced our stage on this day, September 17th. The first one was way back in 1937, but just listen to a few of these highlights. 1968, Billy Graham. 1973, James Fletcher, the head of NASA. 1979, Senator Howard Baker. 1984, astronaut Jack Bousma with Senator Carl Levin. And most recently in 2015, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase. So today we're pleased to add you, David, as our 18th speaker on this day in DEC history. So congratulations and thank you. Finally, we want you to use your smartphone and be involved in today's program two ways. One, take lots of pictures, share with your social media networks. Second, you can submit a question for David using the QR code on the table. And those questions are going to make their way to our presiding officer, who's about to be put to work. Ben Maybach is Vice Chair and Chief Community Officer for Barton Malow. And they are celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, so congratulations to Ben and team. Ben is a DEC board member, an amazing supporter of the Detroit Economic Club and me personally. Thank you, Ben. He's an ardent Michigan State University supporter, and Ben is behind many, many good things that happen here in our region, city, and state. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ben Maybach.
Thank you, Steve, and good afternoon. Another special day for the DEC members and guests. I got to add two comments. I'm always dangerous. Hey, Steve commented about joining the DEC. A meaningful, fulfilling life is friends and memories. You never have too much of a network. You never know when they can help. And a great place to broaden your network is the DEC. The last comment on the prayer, please bless the Tigers too. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce today's guest. Dave Verrett was appointed President and CEO of United States, I always say U.S. Steel Corporation in 2017. Prior to joining U.S. Steel, Dave served as Chief Financial Officer at Caterpillar. Dave earned a bachelor's degree in accounting from Bradley University, and I have to add, he played baseball there, and an MBA from the University of Illinois. He serves on the board of directors of Lockheed Martin, the National Safety Council, serves on the executive committee of World Steel, and he is a member of the Business Council and a member of G100. Our moderator today is Hannah Lutz, Deputy Editor, Technology and Innovation at the Automotive News. Hannah covers the electric vehicle ecosystem and is a member of the Automotive News and Electrical Board. Hey, what a dynamic world or time in the auto industry, the EV industry. Please give a warm Economic Club welcome to Dave and Hannah.
Hi, Dave. Good to see you.
Hello, Hannah. Good to see you, too.
Thanks for being here. What a pivotal time for your company. We've all been reading about it and watching it play out, so we're really excited to hear it from your point of view. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. It is a real privilege. After hearing that whole list, I have to admit I'm feeling a little bit unworthy here, but we'll try to put some punch into this and get you some goodness, so thanks.
So I want to start with some background on you before we get into the acquisition details. We just heard a lot about your previous jobs with Caterpillar, et cetera. How did you get to U.S. Steel? What made you make that choice? And tell us a bit about the nuts and bolts of the company before we get into the acquisition.
Sure. First, how I came to U.S. Steel. I was the CFO for many years at Caterpillar, and then after the Great Recession, I decided that I would retire, and left the company for a number of years, and I've served on some boards, tried to start some businesses and things like that, and then I got one of these little emails from a headhunter that says, do you know anybody with the scope and breadth that would like to help turn around an American iconic corporation? And I got it. I said, well, I don't know of anybody offhand. I'm typing back, but if you keep sending me stuff like this, I may want to get back in the game. And then the phone rang, and they said, well, you sign an NDA, we'll tell you who it is. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is U.S. Steel. So I went on, as everybody would do, I went on Amazon Prime, tried to understand a little bit more, and now it's this iconic corporation. I'm on Lockheed's board. I was the audit committee chair at the time. I called up Bob Stevens, who was the chair at the time, and said, is this dumb? I'm kind of excited about this. The men who made America, and as the first company to have $1 billion in sales, market cap, first annual report, board of directors, and had the first explicit code of conduct, even invented the terms safety first in 1908. So it's like, this is kind of cool. But it's kind of dumb, right? Because Caterpillar is this great big company, and this is a challenge company. And he said, do it. And then he told me about his father, and you hear this all the time. The company is so well known, and his father was like a laborer for 40 years. Now, if you know Bob Stevens, this guy, he was a Marine, incredible job with Lockheed Martin. I have so much admiration for him, learned so much from him. He said, you need to do it. So I went through the interview process, but before that, of course, I have to make sure I get approval. So I talked to my real boss, my wife, who's here today, Lynn, and I said, I got this thing in the mail and I'm thinking about, and she said, go. And so it was like, yeah, it's time probably to get back in the game and start working. And I have to. We've been married now, 43 years. The only woman in my life, and she's been through a lot over this last year. We got a child, a young adult with serious situation that she's dealing with health-wise, and her mom had to go to assisted living. All this while she was recovering from knee replacement surgery, but that wasn't enough. She broke her ankle too. So she's been doing this, and so there's no doubt that she should get the Mother of the Year award, the Daughter of the Year award, and honey, you've always been the Wife of the Year for me, so thank you.
So you got her stamp of approval. You went to U.S. Steel, and now you're running a company that touches multiple industries and has really deep American roots. And Nippon Steel, which we know wants to buy you for $15 billion, is a Japanese company. So tell me, what was on your checklist as you considered buyers, and what made Nippon Steel a good fit in your opinion?
Well, the thing about this whole process, seems a little surreal because we didn't want to sell the company. We actually, when I joined the company, we were losing like $2 million a day for like a period of 5 years, and we've made as much as $11 million a day. But it's not about the money, but it's working on the culture. And we believe we're the undisputed leader in safety as measured by days away, and we have this culture of caring. We've been become on Ethisphere's most ethical company list. One of the world's most loved companies. We got the Human Rights Equity Award. So it's been a whole bunch of things that we've gone through in order to get to where we are today. And we're actually performing well. And we're investing and spending a bunch of capital. So we have this mountain of CapEx, right? And negative cash flow. And the business is doing well, but it's not being reflected in our stock price. And frankly, I thought at some point somebody would come knocking on the door, but we got a number of unsolicited bids, and then it became very clear that some folks might want to run a tender. So it's like, you better, we have a fiduciary duty, a legal obligation to do what's right for the stockholders. So we ran a strategic process, auction, some people call it. And I remember we announced that actually on a Sunday afternoon because it was happening so quickly, but we did not want to sell it. In fact, I would say it had to be a really high price in order for it to work because we see the value. We see what the numbers are. It's just that we're not able to get there as fast as we could with a partner like Nippon. So didn't want to sell, but it's clear they are deeper, they are bigger, and frankly more talented because of the technology that they have, and they're experts in integrated mills where our union has represented members. So it was very clear to us after we looked at the situation, they had by far the best value, all cash offer. The next offer was lower than that, but it was half stock. It was $55 a share. The next one was $54, half stock, half cash. And I think that number would now be something like 42 or 43. So, when you take somebody's stock, it's, there's a lot less certainty. But when we looked at this, we talked with our attorneys, the value is significant, obviously very pleasing to the stockholders. We looked at the regulatory. There really is no monopolistic type tendencies and the antitrust type issues, because for those of you that have done M&A, Nippon has said come hell or high water, which means they'll do whatever it takes to get past anything where there's overlap or any concerns with that. And then of course, the other piece when you talk about CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investments in the U.S., it's a very robust process, and based upon what we know, and we said this to our attorneys, if you find anything, we expect you to disclose it. We expect you to elevate it, because for us, we live by a code. It's God and country first, and if there's something there, we want to reveal it, and we want to make sure everybody knows about it. And by the time we're done doing all the analysis here, it's very clear that it strengthens national security, economic security, and job security. So it's really a good thing. I know it's getting serious scrutiny. That is fantastic for us, because this deal will close on its merits. Very confident in that. We respect the rule of law, and we live by a code, and we expect others to do the same. So we find ourselves in this position right now, still extraordinarily confident, because again, it wins on its merits.
We know that China dominates the steel market by a large margin. How does that global competitive landscape play into your potential acquisition with Nippon Steel?
Well, having a partner with Japan is important, because you think about the United States is number one economically, Japan's number 3, China's number 2. Having that partner is really remarkable. In fact, if we were trying to put a deal together, you'd say, wouldn't it be cool if you had a country in Asia that would partner with you that had the name Japan in its name, like Nippon, and the United States, and it comes together very well. And China, of course, is known for just its immense size. And if you think about the steel industry, it has a capacity about 2 billion tons. Okay, in the United States, we have like 90 million, so we're like less than 5%. The capacity in Japan is around a little less than 100 million. And the excess capacity in the steel industry is some 600 million. So with China having over 50%, over 1 billion of that capacity, they are the beast in this industry, and bringing Nippon's expertise with U.S. Steel's footprint here in the United States, that investment coming in gives us an opportunity to really compete with China and actually increase competitiveness. But that's why our customers love it. The auto guys love this transaction very much. Our employees really appreciate the transaction very much once they take the time to understand that this is about jobs, not just job security, it's job growth with the investments that they're going to be able to put into the business. So we're very, very pleased with this relationship we have with Nippon. It's an elongated process. We understand that. But again, serious scrutiny is a good thing, because again, it closes on its merit.
Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, there has been a lot of opposition to the deal. Let's start with the union. The international president of the United Steelworkers wrote in a letter to members that he feared Nippon would run away from basic steel making. So he seemed to imply a focus on technology that requires fewer workers. Have you spoken directly with union leaders, and how do you respond to some of their concerns?
Well, I just contrary to those statements, this is actually better for the United States and better for competitiveness. If you think about what Nippon's doing, when you think about the basic labor agreement, all that is required is acceptance of the basic labor agreement as written. But in addition to that, Nippon has said that they are willing to sign a contract that they will be investing $1.4 billion above and beyond that labor agreement with no layoffs as a result of that transaction. That's something that we didn't have in our basic labor agreement, so that's not there. And then in addition to that, we have a large blast furnace, one of the largest blast furnaces in the world in Gary, Indiana. And they've said they're going to invest $300 million there because that would be something that we would gradually reduce and not relying because we don't have the funds to continue to invest in that. And then they've also said in Pennsylvania and Allegheny County near Pittsburgh that they would invest another $1 billion in refurbishing that mill, including a caster, an important ingredient to the steelmaking process that is dated 1938. And that's $1 billion that we would not do. You know, we have this strategy, we call it best of both. Best of the integrated mills, which is basically the virgin steel that you make with blast furnaces, and then the recycling business, which is the electric arc furnace, the mini mill business. And so we have best of the integrated, best of the mini mills, and we're actually growing the mini mill business as we focus on what we say is better, not bigger. Because we spent a bunch of money on something like $10 billion in capital over the last year, refurbishing a number of investments at the individual facilities. We just put a new facility in at our Keetac in Minnesota. We put a pig facility in at Gary, Indiana. And so we've done that investment. And so in order to get better, not bigger, we have to make sure we're focused in the right place. But with Nippon, the beauty of this is all this money coming to the United States, you know, all this money coming to U.S. Steel to make us more competitive, that is investment in innovation. And they are experts in innovation in the blast furnace, where the union is represented. So we're excited by that because these are things we would really like to do, but we don't have the funds or the financing to be able to do that. And they do. And they're willing to come to the table in spite of not having to come to the table to do this, to show that they're really pro-USA, pro-US Steel. They've been to our facilities. They were surprised at how great our integrated mills were running. And then just as an example, the blast furnace number 14, they have one and a half times that size in Japan, and they have technology that they say, this is challenged. Well, we know what we can do to help, and we want that thing to continue to run. We said, that's fantastic. So again, we believe strongly this is great for not just the stockholders, but the customers and the employees and frankly, the country and even the planet because of their innovation and their reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and things like that. Things that would cost us a lot more to do. When they have that technology, they would help us succeed.
Okay. The deal has also become a political topic in this very critical election cycle. President Joe Biden has said that he would block the acquisition, and presidential candidates seem to be in the same camp. Donald Trump said he would block the deal. Vice President Harris said that the company should be American-owned. So a lot of opposition from the highest level, scrutiny at the highest level. Some say it's a question of national security. We talked about that a little bit. Can you explain more? Is that concern valid?
Well, again, I believe that everybody has an opinion and everybody is entitled to it. But the good news for us is these processes are very rigorous. And one of our, we have our steel principles, which are our values, which start STEEL, safety first, trust and respect. I'll come back to that. And environmental stewardship, excellence and accountability, and lawful and ethical conduct. So trust and respect, we spend a lot of time in as a value. So what we do is we're rule followers. We have a code. We trust and respect the process. It's a very rigorous process that antitrust has. It's a very rigorous process that CFIUS has. We trust that process. We've been told by our attorneys that the people that run that process have high integrity, high capability, and it's an American mission. We love all that. So when you go through that and you trust the process, how could it be anything but what's great, especially when we look for opportunities that would be a problem? Now, there could be something out there, but then you also have the opportunity to mitigate it. And in fact, some of the things they've done, which Again, it didn't seem like they had to do it. Can you imagine? They have said it's going to be run by U.S. citizens. And they also said the board of directors is largely going to be U.S. citizens. Imagine. So you start sorting through that, and then any trade-related issues, they say, will it respect the trade laws as written in the United States? And all of this, of course, can be documented and agreed to. So again, we trust the process, we respect the process, and when that happens, I think good things happen for not just companies, but countries. When you have rule of law, you follow that rule.
What will your next step be if Biden or our next president blocks the deal?
Well, I can't imagine it not going through. I just can't imagine. So the idea that, there's some kind of plan B, plan C, we talk about getting a better, not bigger. That was our strategy, but I'm so confident that this would get through. I just can't imagine that we would not have something that would not be helpful to our best ally in Asia that's bringing technology and making not just the country better and the company better, but also the planet better too. It will close on its merits.
So how many people in the audience work in the auto industry or are affiliated with the auto industry? Okay, a lot of hands going up. So I think a lot of people are curious, how would this deal affect your position and your business in the auto industry?
Well, we know the auto guys very well. I think we sell about 3 million tons in the auto industry, and we love you guys because you make us better all the time by the things that you're tough, but you make us better. And the thing for us is the advanced technology, advanced high-strength steel. We know how important safety is. We also know how important mileage is. So when you do advanced high-strength steel, lightweight steel, highly formable steel, deliver on time and right, obviously that's a great thing. And when you have more money to invest in technology that we didn't have before, you guys are going to be huge beneficiaries of this, and it will become more competitive. And versus every other opportunity that we looked at, there was virtually not much overlap on this. So it actually improves competition where others, there could be monopolistic tendencies and you have to sell off pieces of the business and things like that, and would take a very long time to actually consummate that. But this deal is really, and it's no wonder we get so many comments from folks in the auto industry. It's like, when are you going to get this thing done? When do you get this thing completed? And then others also say, hey, could you get this done? We'd like to build on your campus. But we can't actually announce that until we know when you guys are done. Can you get moving on it? So we feel the sense of urgency, but again, we're respecting the process, we're trusting the process, and we believe that the people that are running this process are the right people to get the right answer.
And if the deal fails, what then? How will that affect your company and your stakeholders?
Well, it's not going to fail, but
if
again,
it does, though,
it's
what
like
will happen?
Again, we're better, not bigger, and with Nippon it would be better and bigger. Remember, we didn't want this process, right? We have a fiduciary duty, legal obligation, and I can tell you, it is the best deal in American steel by far. This will be good for each and every stakeholder, as I said. I can just repeat it: for the stockholder, the employee, the customer, the country, and even the planet. So how can you not have this thing be accepted? Let's just trust the process and see how it plays out.
Will it stop you from certain investments if it doesn't go through? I know that you mentioned Nippon was a huge financial
Well, it would be
asset.
the absence of those investments because, as I said, we would not do those investments. We do not have the money to do those investments. So we have, the best of both, best of integrated, best of mini mills. There would be more focus on the mini mills because we would not be investing. We invested a lot of money there already in the integrated mills to bring those up to what we think are the best practice here in the United States. Of course, by every objective measure in terms of margins, we see that versus the other integrated mills that were performing well. And then on the mini mills, based upon margins, we perform very well versus the Nucors and the Steel Dynamics. So we do believe in this model, and we would continue to do that model, but we're so much stronger making sure that this deal closes. And again, it is the right thing for every stakeholder. And if people don't understand it, get rid of the sound bites, dig into the details. U.S. Steel, we are the truth tellers, and we will tell you the truth. We live by a code.
Would anything change for the union workers if it doesn't go through, or would they proceed as they already are?
Well, fortunately, the union workers that I've talked to really like the deal. In fact, even local union presidents like the deal. So we think over time, people start to understand just how good this is, and that's good for us. Sometimes there's a little bit of soak time for people to really get involved and understand it, and we have a great website, Best Deal in American Steel, that goes through everything that's gone on. It's all there for everybody to take a look at, and that's why I feel so good about this.
So you mentioned that the deal closing would be very good for the auto industry, more competition in the market, lower prices is what everyone likes to hear. You've been working on electrical steel, I know, which is an ultra-thin material that's important to EVs. If the deal doesn't go through, how would that affect your role in the auto business and electrical steel? What would change?
Yeah, well, I would say we're the best at that with the NGO line that we just put in place. That's a brand new line that will be capturing market share. With Nippon Steel, they are far more experienced, and so their know-how, their knowledge will come to us, and we'll be able to move faster and actually help develop that for our customers sooner than what we would have been able to otherwise.
Okay. What are the key integration plans that you anticipate between U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel? I mean, Japan is an alliance, but we're still very different countries and different companies, so what would you expect moving forward?
Well, you know, when we think about integration or synergies, often when you bring two companies together, you know, what happens is the poor people at the headquarters get in trouble, but there isn't much overlap at all. So really the integration, I actually think, is at the country level, which would be a great strengthening of the alliance between the United States of America and Japan, but also it gets back to their knowledge, their know-how, our understanding of the commercial markets here, and bringing that knowledge to bear with our company, I think is just, again, I am more than just excited about this for our customers and employees.
What types of knowledge are you referring to? There are different types of technology that we're not using yet in the U.S.?
Well, they do hydrogen, they do carbon capture, they have experience, and they've been doing these kind of things for, you know, a decade. They've also, with their blast furnaces, they've been able to demonstrate on a prototype basis some 33% reduction in GHG emissions. So they're clearly the leader in this around the world. You'd put them at the top of the top in terms of their capabilities, and that's what's really exciting. I mean, Nippon is a company of engineers, and they know steel making at a very deep level. And having talked with them, you know, I often tease them a little bit because I say, I think you think perfection is the goal, but excellence will be tolerated, because they can go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm always going, give me some engineers here to help me with some of these conversations, because they have really great understanding of steel making. And they have a global footprint. You know, it's not just Japan, but it's also in India and Brazil. And if you think about, well, why are they investing? Well, the market here is the best in the world. And if you look at Japan, you look at their demographics, you study demographics, right? And they have like 125 million people now, but that number will be more like 85 million by 2060. So they want to do friendshoring, and this would be a great opportunity to show that. In fact, the administration wants to do friendshoring, and you can imagine when this deal goes through, they'll say, wow, isn't that wonderful? What else could we do with investments in the United States instead of us giving technology away? They bring it to us. I mean, what could really be better than that?
Mm-hmm. What are the long-term goals that you'll focus on post-acquisition, assuming that it closes?
Well, Nippon Steel has growth aspirations. They're currently the fourth largest in the world. After this transaction, we'll be third, pushing towards second. So they have a goal to make some $100 million tons of steel a year. So that's a big number, and that puts them competitive with China, which is, you know, kind of the big conglomerate who is, you know, they're number one in the world with half of the world's capacity, more than half capacity. So this gives us, you know, the opportunity to compete on that global stage, and also develop people, leaders, to have an opportunity to work not just in a few locations in the United States. We have operations also in Slovakia, but this footprint gives greater opportunity for development. And as a long-term Caterpillar employee, having worked and lived in different locations, you get that opportunity to learn and grow. So that's another great, I guess you'd say, synergy, that we develop our people better, and then people here get the opportunity to see what world-class looks like at other operations.
Yeah, it'll shape the global market a bit.
Right.
Okay, I think we have just 1 minute left, so I'm going to ask you a question on how you've been dealing with all of the back and forth of the opposition, the union leaders, the politicians. You've been high level at companies during different types of crises, like the financial crisis when you were at Caterpillar. What is your strategy?
Well, I think I have a strong faith. So, and also, as I mentioned, a strong spouse. So, we get through a lot of challenges together. The difficult thing is always with the communications, and we are not the buyer. So, I would like to be more engaged in that. But we're covered by covenants, and they actually handle those communications, and they're doing a good job. But it's noisy. And dealing with that noise sometimes is irritating, but for the most part, you think about the end game, you think about our country, you think about the opportunity in your lifetime. You work really hard your whole life, you get lots of challenges. I've never had a challenge this big amongst everything that's going on. How often in your life do you get an opportunity to do something, not just for your company, but your country and even the planet? And this is that deal.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dave, for your candor with us. We have some audience questions, so let's bring Ben back up. Here you are.
Thank you. Dave, if you would just educate the group, how many employees, revenues, and truly, what is the size of U.S. Steel today?
Yeah, we have about 22,000 employees, say $17 billion in sales, and we have we've actually had profitability now for profit sharing for 14 consecutive quarters. So we've been actually performing very well. So I think I have to be careful with the number I say, because I might be giving you a forecast number for this year instead of the actual number. But we've again made as much as $11 million a day and lost, before we made the changes. So we're in a good place, but we could be in a much better place.
You never can be contented where you're at. What impact did the Inflation Reduction Act have on the country's manufacturing base, and anything specific to U.S. Steel?
Well, I think investments in the United States are good things. I think the more we can invest in manufacturing, I think the better we are as a country. Obviously, spending my whole career seeing where we are and the challenges that we had with infrastructure over so many years, we need to be, I think, more surgical. I think we need to be very clear with what those outcomes should be, but I think it's a really good thing. In fact, the Inflation Reduction Act, I think it was misnamed. I often call it the Manufacturing Renaissance Act, so long as we get it very focused on value creation, creating great jobs and things like that. The devil's always in the detail, and it's all about execution. It's great to have these great plans, but you got to be good at project management, and you must execute.
Can you give an overview on how you currently view the American economy and what 2025 has in store?
Wow, that's a really hard one. I would say, I don't know. What we coach our team is, you can estimate, you can prepare, but the main thing is that you're nimble. What we say is, what's the best case? What's the worst case? So you manage within a range, you manage within a band, and then we put the numbers, we do them top downs, bottoms up, we do a lot of analysis on this, and then frequently there's a change that we're completely off, and we'll have our plan, and I'll know by that if somebody puts their plan together and they're down here by the worst case, then I know there's a lot more challenge. And if it's at the top end, then I know we probably don't have enough stretch, but we obviously don't know what the future is heading. I live my life in paranoia. I would say that maybe people could call me a pessimist, because I've always felt you make your money in the trough and then you screw it up in the peak. because you finally get clarity on the most important priorities and you can take action. If you're smart, you can actually acquire some things, you can make the right investment. But when things are going extraordinarily well, you can get a little soft, you can get complacent. And that's where mistakes are made, where people get hungry for that shiny object. And what you have to do is you have to bring people back with a disciplined process, make sure the process is solid, and then respect the process. And that's when you get the right outcome. But again, I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm not clairvoyant. I will be wrong.
What message do you have for high school students considering a job in the skilled trades?
Well, you know, I think it's a great opportunity. You have to want to work hard. You know, you have to want to make sure that you're learning. And by the way, it's becoming more high tech. We've told our team we are going to be the leaders in artificial intelligence. We have in our Big River facility in Arkansas, fabulous technology down there. So just because it sounds like the old tired Rust Belt doesn't mean we don't have people with PhD, advanced degrees, Harvard grads that come into our organization. And while we never guarantee people, a lifelong journey, nobody can, but we can give you a really good experience if you're willing to work hard, you have a bit of grit, and we'll make sure that we give you the exposure and the opportunity to work in many different venues across the company, different types of businesses.
You mentioned it, but question further down. What role will AI have on manufacturing jobs such as U.S. Steel moving forward?
You know, this is interesting. Maybe I'm a little contrarian on this because, I'm an old, I used to be the best Lotus 1, 2, 3 at Caterpillar. I'm just saying, Now I can hardly put together an Excel spreadsheet. But the thing that surprised me, and I think it's relevant here, I remember we do like 2 budgets, it's kind of, you do the top down, bottoms up, and, it was obviously taking a really long time. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this Lotus 1, 2, 3, it's going to just save so much time. You know what? You find other things to do. And now we do the analysis so deep and so many different times, and sometimes I think maybe a little bit too much analysis paralysis. But with AI, I can tell you, I'm using it every day. Even for this meeting, when people give me the information and you put it in Copilot and say, summarize all the key things, and it shows up. We do the same thing. We have our own kind of like Chat GPT for the company only. You have an investor call or something like that, and you say, what are the top 10 questions? And they may not have them all right, but and you got to not exactly trust everything. But that large language model, I think we're using that to a really great extent, but also in terms of maintenance and things like, it's so fast, and then people find other opportunities, and so the people with the best AI are going to win. And so we want people to, and by the way, if you're a young person, learn this, because you can actually accelerate your career, because you can run circles around old guys like me in that space, and I think, learn it. Look for practical applications, look for great use cases, and I have to admit, I am amazed and delighted with some of the things that we're doing, but I can't tell you about them right now.
What steps has U.S. Steel taken to be more green?
Well, we published our sustainability report, and we were the first steel company in USA to hit the 2050 target. Now, I wish I could say, yeah, I know exactly how to get there, but we have certain steps that are there, and we're also doing things related to carbon capture. We're exploring hydrogen. We're looking at ways to bring our blast furnaces on. Of course, the electric arc furnaces, right out of the box, they're like 70–80% lower GHG emissions. So we're fortunate in that we have the high-end stuff related to the integrated mills, and then also the better greenhouse gas emissions, because today you're not going to be able to get the improvements that you have with mini mills that you have with the blast furnaces. They're just very, very, not only capital and cost intensive, but the nature of that type of work also requires a big challenge in order to get them, lower the GHG emissions. A lot more expense involved in that.
A broad topic, being part of the executive team at Caterpillar. part of the executive team at U.S. Steel. What takeaways, very different issues as a leadership team, what, combining those experiences, what a couple takeaways or suggestions might you throw out?
Yeah, wow. You know, I mean, they're very different companies. Obviously, Caterpillar has the footprint, manufacturing footprint. That's the envy of the world. You know, if you want to follow what's happening in the global economy, just read their quarterly results and your annual report. So they have an extraordinarily broad footprint. They're basically in most every market, and you can understand what's happening in the world. So they have that big advantage. What we have an advantage of, I would say at U.S. Steel, we got the grit. We got grit. The people we have at U.S. Steel, I've never seen an organization so responsive, you know, and when things go down, people, they'll figure out a way to get it back up and running safely, and they do whatever it takes to make things happen. It's a different, very different organization at Caterpillar in terms of the way I operate. I would say our leadership team is probably closer to the action. We're a much smaller company, obviously, and so we also have a greater cyclicality than what Caterpillar does as well. So we have to be more nimble, and we have to make decisions very, very quickly. And we're doing better, and there's still more that we could do.
The merger is successful. What are the goals 5-10 years from now?
Well, you know, it'll be run by Nippon, and we're lined up with being the best steelmaker with world-leading capabilities, 100 million tons. I think that by year 10, we ought to be number 2, a solid number 2. And I think we should be a highly profitable business. I think what we'll see is people will say, wow, that was a historic time, and leadership did the right thing, that our country did the right thing by creating this great partnership with Japan in the United States. And I think when we're done with this, we'll look back with a great sense of this doing the right thing, and that's what it's about.
All right, now the fun phase, the lightning round. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I remember being very young. I wanted to be a veterinarian because I liked frogs and turtles and rabbits. And I was baling hay and shoveling manure, so I liked getting my hands dirty, and I thought that would be really cool to do, yeah.
What was your first paying job?
Had a paper route.
What, Aswell County News? What paper?
Peoria Journal-Star.
Well, see, my mom grew up in Morton, so Tazewell County News.
Okay, that was another one, but actually it was a Journal-Star that,
okay.
Actually, my brother's a couple of years older than me, so I worked for him. And yeah, he was actually the money man, and he would tell me what I needed to do.
What profession other than the current would you like to try? You're young, 69, pretty young.
Well, you know, I always thought when I was younger I was going to be this baseball player, and you know, I'm really pleased to have that experience, the teamwork. I think it teaches you about leadership, and also I actually set a record at Bradley University. You know, I'm pretty pleased with it. It's since been beaten, but I set a record, Bradley, for most hit by pitches. Yeah, I know. You look at me and you say, yeah, I think the job you've got, you can probably take a pitch. You know, yeah.
All right, your first car.
Malibu Classic, 1977.
Good.
$5,300, and I paid for it all cash, baling hay, shoveling manure at $3 an hour. So you know that took a long time for me to get that, but I didn't mind hard work.
Last question. What advice to your 25-year-old self?
Live by a code. Work hard. I always tell the young people this because they're always asking me about their work-life balance. Live an asymmetric life. You know, find something that is purposeful for you. You know, the people that claim they have a balanced life, you know, that's kind of like Instagram, TikTok. This is not real. People can convince themselves, oh, I got it all together. No, you never get it. Life is going to punch you in the gut, and you're going to have to work hard. Early on, work really, really hard, get in expertise, try to find a mentor. Never give up. You're going to have to work hard for a really long time, and it's not going to come overnight. But if you think it's this kind of fast way of getting the buck, you might get lucky. But the most successful people, when you do hard work, you're ready for the next challenge, and it becomes an opportunity to then take on another greater challenge. But let's face it, life is hard. People you love are going to die. And you're going to be disappointed with people that let you down. So you got to make sure that you're resilient, live by a code, have values. For me, it's a strong belief in God, and you can get through anything. But if you think you're going to do it without hard work, I don't think that's a formula. Live by code, work hard, live an asymmetric life.
Hannah, thanks for a good job. Hey, again, the small world. My mom grew up in Morton. The people we knew,
No.
the experiences, unbelievable. But Dave, great getting to know you. Thanks for lending your time, and the very best going forward. Steve, it's yours.
David, you are very worthy of the DEC stage. We know how valuable your time is, and you're quite a leader. So thank you for choosing
Thank
the
you.
DEC,
Thank you very
and
much.
we wish you the best
Thank you.
going forward. Ben, you always do a fantastic job. Hannah, your first time with us, but you knocked it out of the park. So about a round of applause for all three. Ladies and gentlemen, tell your friends and colleagues to join the Detroit Economic Club. You won't find a better group of people. So on time, every time, this meeting of the Detroit Economic Club is now adjourned. Thank you.
You were